One evening, after a long day of community service, teaching young students of different classes, I decided to go for a walk. As I take a stroll by the riverside, I heard a faint, melodious humming from the river. At first, I was scared, but the voice persisted. Curious, I wanted to know the source of the sound. So I walked to the direction the voice came from, and I discovered it was from the river. But when I got to the river, I could hardly believe my eyes. I saw the most beautiful woman. No, a creature, a fish. She turned and looked at me with a death stare. Then, I noticed she was heavily pregnant. I quickly knelt down and pleaded with her. I didn't see anything, please, I said in a shivering tone. As I begged, I noticed she fixed her gaze at me, and I quickly added, still pleading with her, I never meant to disrupt your activities. Please forgive me. She kept mute, still giving me death stare. Then she said in a weak and scary tone, you cannot unsee what you just saw, and you will pay dearly for it. As she speaks, I noticed she was bleeding in labor. I forgot to introduce myself. In order for you to understand, let me start from the genesis. My name is Susan, the only graduate of my family. While my dad sponsored my education, he was laughed at by his friends and family members. They said,
women education ends in their husband's kitchen.
Why will you waste so much money on a girl child?
Instead, why don't you invest on lucrative businesses?
I remember this particular event vividly. That period my dad was short of funds. Everyone he asked assistance from refused to lend him money. So he had to sell his only car to continue to sponsor my education. After that event, I vowed I will make him proud. So I focused on my studies and graduated with first class. I promised myself that I will give my parents a luxury life. When it was time for me to serve as a Nigeria Youth Corps, I was transferred to a village called Ugo. Ugo community lacks facilities for conducive learning environment. The inhabitants in the community lives a primitive lifestyle. They had only one borehole, one school, and lacks many other things. My parents were not in support of me going to Ugo village, but we had no choice. On getting to the village, I was given a warm welcome. I was also enlightened on the village regulations and how to survive in Ugo. Teaching in Ugo secondary school was so stressful due to few teachers available. After a month of teaching in the school, I decided to go for a walk. This was where I started in the beginning of my story. So let's continue from where we stopped. Forward to where I stopped. As I noticed she was bleeding in labor, I said in fear, I can help. I can get a first aid or someone that can help. She asked in anger, do you think your nonsense first aid can help a mermaid? Currently we have more than 20 mermaids unable to give birth. Your first aid and doctors are useless. Since humans were created, they have brought nothing but problems. Before humans discovered this river, it was filled with miracles, powers of healings, plant and trees that can change your life forever. Now it's just an empty, deserted and abandoned place. I was dumbfounded and unhappy as she added, mermaids used to live together in harmony until humans intervened. Humans asked for help and we helped, only for them to turn against us. We used to have some glowing tree in the middle of the river. It maintained the balance of the spirit and the river. When humans came asking for help, we decided to help to bring unity among humans and mermaids. Just one leaf from the tree was strong enough to heal any ailments and disease, including barrenness. We were generous enough to let humans access the trees anytime, any day, because the trees never runs out of leaves no matter the quantity you need. but the minds of humans was indeed evil. Please like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel to support me as we continue the story. Thank you. One day we all woke up to the greatest shock of our lives. They brought excavators and other equipment to steal the glowing tree. Instead of taking just one seed from the tree to replant, they took everything. We tried to fight for it, but the equipment brought by humans could wipe the entire lineage of mermaids. Some mermaids lost their lives in the process. We, the survivors, have to run for dear life. After that incident, the cry of a baby have never been heard in the kingdom of mermaid. Mermaids are now scared to get pregnant because our water has lost the source of bringing creatures to life. Now all mermaids are suffering because we helped evil humans. We consulted an oracle, and the oracle mentioned a man called Rascal Man. Rascal Man is the mastermind to all the evil. He gave the villagers peanut. Just little cash and foodstuff was enough to win their heart. We are not suffering this alone. The villagers are too, she said in tears. This village has never experienced growth since the incident. Now the villagers dies before getting old. Rascal Man refused to give the villagers a leaf or seeds from the tree. After she narrated her story, I promised to help bring the seed of the tree to her. She gave me a powdered substance to blow at the trees after obtaining the seed of the tree. Make sure you blow the powder after obtaining the seeds, she said in pain. I promised to do instructed. I replied immediately. It was not hard for me to find Rascal Man because the villagers were now against him. But they have no means of fighting him because of his wealth. They complained of how greedy he became after obtaining the glowing tree. It was not easy for me to access Rascal Man. I planned so many meetings. I asked about places he loves to visit and planned bumping into him. Rascal Man was so full of himself that if I tried to initiate a conversation with him, he calls me a slut trying to get access to his money and walk away. So I had to take a drastic measure. Yeah, it almost cost me my life, but it worked. I ran into the road when his car was fast approaching. The car barely hit me, but I acted like I was dying. Some villagers took a video, so he had no choice than to help me. He took me home and gave me a leaf from the glowing tree. After I took the leaf, I felt this strange energy in me to seduce him. So I started to seduce him, and guess what? He started to find me attractive. We became a very close friend in no time. He even told me some of his little secrets. He bragged and on of how he outsmarted the villagers, which I recorded on my phone. He also went on and on of how much he got from the glowing tree business, calling the villagers a fool. After I gained his trust, I planned with some capable villagers and Nysc members. They were all eager to fight alongside with me since I was taking the apex risk. Forward to the day I started to actualize our plans. One cool evening, after a long day of talking, as usual, we decided to eat together. He asked me to get him a glass of wine. I did, and we continued eating together. All of a sudden, he was drowsy and slept off. Yeah, you guessed right, I added sleeping dose to his food. He won't be awake until tomorrow. After I found out he was fast asleep, I sneaked into the garden of glowing tree. The trees and other plants in the garden was so colorful and beautiful. So, I plucked as much seeds I can get my hand on and sneaked out. I almost thought I succeeded until I saw him at the door while trying to sneak out. The look on his face was so deadly, and he said, yelling at me,
"You were so foolish to think I was so gullible. I am going to treat you like the trash you are. I thought you were a graduate, but now I know that some graduate like you are still very senseless. You were senseless enough not to notice how easy it was for you to execute your foolish plan on a tough man like me. Oh, You must be wondering how I knew your plan. He laughed sarcastically. Your colleague rated you out for money, and nobody's coming to save you?
He ordered his guard to lock me up, which they did. I said to myself, my life is over. At midnight, while I was sleeping, someone woke me up and said, "Wake up, it's time to go." I looked up and found out it's one of the villagers. I was about to leave. Then I remember the instructions of the mermaids. He was already with the seeds. So I quickly went to the garden, below the powdered substance, and was amazed. All the plants in the garden started to dry up. But I heard the villagers saying, "Let's go, hurry up." So we ran outside only for me to see that soldiers surrounded the building. Rascal Man yelled at his guard to go after us, but they were all tied up. I ran straight to the village river, and I was shocked to meet a pod of mermaid. They were all happy celebrating as I brought the glowing seeds. They ordered me to throw the seeds into the river. Immediately I threw them in the river. Beautiful tall trees grew, and I began to hear cry of babies. I was given gold, diamonds, and even seeds of the glowing tree. I was also told they casted a spell to protect the tree, the river, and mermaids. It is no longer accessible to any human except me, and I was blessed with wealth and happiness. Pods of mermaids celebrated me. As I was leaving, the mermaid I encountered called me. She brought her child with her, thanking me for all I did. I was privileged to carry the baby for some minutes. She said she is named after you, Susan. She thanked me again and left with her baby. When I got home, I shared half of my gold with the villagers, court members, and soldiers that came to save me, because I learned that some villagers had to pay some soldiers to help me. After they found out there was a snitch among us, few of them made a secret rescue plan, just in case. A month later, my service ended, and I went back home. But this time it was to give my parents the life I promised them. My family was so happy to see me, but their biggest happiness was the wealth I obtained. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more.